So now we're moving right into our next recipe, and it's the black bean burger. And who doesn't love a burger, right? And this plant-based burger is packed with protein. So we're getting your protein. That's going to help promote healing. And it also has a good amount of fiber. We've been talking about fiber quite a bit, and we know about how it can be helpful with dumping syndrome, as Denise had talked about earlier. And then from a cancer prevention perspective, it's also a good recipe, even if you don't have stomach cancer, because it gives you a good amount of fiber from the black beans that are in it. And we actually Canadians probably need about at least 25 grams of fiber a day in our diet. We're only probably getting half of that. And so adding black beans to this recipe gets us closer to that goal. I'll just turn it over to Jeremy in the kitchen.
Thanks, Daniela. So this is another great recipe from the cookbook. I think it was a fan favorite. I think it was a request. I don't know if it was Teresa that requested the burger. I know someone wanted a burger in the book. So yeah.
Yes, Teresa really wanted the burger, yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So we put together this really nice alternative to like a regular animal protein-based burger, like a beef burger. We're using black beans for that, like I said, plant-based protein, but also to give us that bulk, that nice texture for this burger. So the first thing, and I think this is a key component that adds a lot of flavor, and you can do it a few different ways. But the one way I do want to show you is by using some onions. And we're going to be caramelizing these onions. So almost like the mushrooms, same sort of concept with the mushrooms, where you want to draw out as much of the water as possible out of the onions. And we want to get that caramelization, that sort of the Maillard reaction. That's the fancy chef term, the Maillard reaction, that caramelization, that browning, and that caramelization is going to add a ton of flavor to these onions. So simply to caramelize them, slice up your onions. You can use any onions. The thing here is I wouldn't slice them too thin. So I would slice them about, what is that? Maybe like a quarter of an inch-ish thickness. If they're too thin, I find that they just get too soft, almost like too mushy. So you want to have a little bit of texture on them, so a little bit thicker. Add them to your pan. And what we're going to do is, you know what, I'll add them now. There we go. A little bit of, now, like the mushrooms, they will reduce to a much smaller volume. So if you, for this recipe, I think it's like a couple cups, but if you wanted more caramelized onions, because you like adding them to different types of dishes, you know, definitely maximize it. Go for a few cups. It freezes really well. It's a great little condiment. It's a great little add to put in some burgers like we're doing today, but you can throw them in, you know, meatballs. You can throw them in soups. You can do all kinds of stuff with them. So onions, a little bit of salt, a little pinch. It's going to help cook them down, and really just cooking them until soft. And then we're going to finish with just a little bit of balsamic vinegar in there, just to give it another punch of flavor, a little bit of acidity, until they look like this. So you can see it's not like a fully dark caramelization, but just until they're sort of nice and jammy and soft. And it might take like 10 minutes or so, depending on your heat level. We have a medium heat, so I don't want to go much hotter than that, otherwise they'll burn. And once they're nice and soft like this, you can remove them, let them cool, and put them to the side.
So the onions can be a bit of a trigger for symptoms of heartburn and reflux for some people with stomach cancer. Tolerance can be very individual, so some people may not be able to tolerate raw onions, but they don't have any issues if they're cooked, or in this case, caramelized. Others can find that they can tolerate onion powder, but not fresh onions. And others might need to omit onions from their diet in all forms. Jeremy, if someone is very sensitive to all forms of onion, what would you suggest as a substitute for this burger? You
could use roasted peppers. I think that is a great substitute. I think we tested with roasted peppers as well. And you really, I mean, you can cook them down just like this. You can buy them jarred, already roasted, already soft, and just slice them up and add them directly into the burger as is. So a great convenient product. You're going to still get a lot of flavor. You're going to get some nice color as well, but it's a great sub for the caramelized onions. Yeah, awesome. All right, so caramelized onions are out. It's not going to be that quick, but imagine, yes, we did it. Caramelized onions, take them out of the pan, and then in the same pan, we're going to add our can of black beans. These have been drained and rinsed. We want to remove, again, as much water as possible from this. And we're going to go just right into the same pan. Get all that in there. And what we're looking to do is for them to dry up. So any excess water, we want that to sort of evaporate. We want to dry that out. And we want to start to create some texture on the black beans. So as we're cooking it like this, and you can go medium-high, we're looking for those black beans to start bursting and to start almost, you see this almost like crust forming on the outside. What that means is it's going to give us some better texture to the burger. It's also going to help the burger shape, us form the burger. If there's too much water in the burger, it just gets really soft and it makes a mess and it doesn't really form a nice patty. So I don't know if you can see, to bring high tech, their shots here. You can see still a little bit of the water on the bottom. It's steaming off. We want to get rid of that. Okay, so we want to make sure that it's a lot drier before we start forming these patties.
What I wanted to say about the black beans, I like giving you these little tips about how much is in a quarter cup or a half cup. So in a half cup of the cooked black beans, there's about 8 grams of protein. That would be similar to that found in an egg. 8 grams of fiber, and as we said at the beginning, we want to get up to about 25 grams a day for women, 38 for men. So this provides about 1/3 of that daily intake. And then for the treatment of stomach cancer that can lead to problems with digesting and absorbing some nutrients like the iron and folate, a half cup of black beans actually can give you 32%, so 1/3 of your daily requirement for folate and 1/5 or 10% of our daily need for iron. So it's a great bean to have in your diet.
Love the black bean tips and nutrition info. I guess, and you can use, I don't know, maybe Denise or Daniela, if you want to comment, but with the burgers, if you did want to use a different bean, I know that texturally, in regards to the technique, it would still work with this. Is there maybe another bean that you would suggest nutrition-wise that would be comparable, or they're all pretty similar?
I think chickpeas would be a good substitute for the black beans in this case. If you weren't a big fan of the black beans, they're also an excellent source of protein. I forgot to mention that they were also a good addition to the other dish that we did for adding a source of protein as well. So I think that would be a great option with a similar nutrient profile.
Awesome. Love that. Thank you for helping me fill up some time as well as I'm waiting for these black beans. Sometimes you just gotta throw out these one-off surprise questions. I know that I'm surrounded by the best to answer them. All right, these look good. So you can start to see, so definitely no more water. I'm starting to caramelize on the bottom, and you're starting to get that cracking of the black beans, which is exactly what we're looking for. Nice and dry. I'm going to empty them out into our pan. Now, again, if you had time, let them cool until they're nice and cool before we add the rest in. But in the meantime, what we're going to do here, and just to make it a little bit easier, like, yes, you can do this in a food processor if you have one. That's, I mean, just another thing to clean up afterwards. These are really easy to just use the back of like a spoon or even like a fork or a potato masher, and then just crush them just like this. And this way, they're not like fully pureed. It still has some nice texture, and you can see that they're black beans in there, which I think I like. So we're just going to give them sort of a half mash. And this spoon is working pretty well. And it should start to already hold shape. So you can see that it's already starting to clump together really, really easily, which is perfect, exactly what we're looking for. And again, you can let this cool. We don't have time for that. We're doing a show here. So I'm going to add the rest of my ingredients. So a tablespoon of soy sauce. This is going to add some big flavor, a lot of that umami, that savoriness we talked about. For spices, we're adding smoked paprika and cumin. You can add whatever spices you like. If you like some dried herbs, you can definitely add some dried herbs for some more flavor. We're going to add half of the caramelized onions that we used, which in this recipe should be about half a cup. And again, this will be a topping as well as in the burger. So I think it's actually really, really great. Used both ways. And then about half a cup of breadcrumbs, or these are actually oats. So I keep some ground oats in a container here. It's a good sub for breadcrumbs, especially as a binder if you're making like meatballs or burgers like this. And this is another, I guess, whole grain, right? So we're getting some plus nutrients there too.
No, I was just going to say yes, yay for whole grains. But I'm just going to ask Denise, because she's more of the expert with stomach cancer, if oats are okay. Yeah.
If the oats are okay? Yeah, the oats are great, actually. Again, it's like a source of soluble fiber that you're adding to the black bean burgers that, again, can hold water. It can help with transit time if you're having dumping. So that's an excellent substitute for the breadcrumbs.
Awesome. What I actually like about the oats as well is I find it does a better job of absorbing any excess moisture. So if you didn't get all the water out, it does a great job of drying out the ingredients for the patties. And then we're going to add 1 egg. It's also going to help us to bind it together. And there we go. And we'll mix it all together. Now, if you find that it is still really wet, you can add a little bit more of your breadcrumb or oat to soak it up. Or what I would actually do is just let it chill. Pop it in the fridge for like even 5 minutes. And it'll make it a lot easier to form your patties. Also, if you didn't add already, you can add a little pinch of salt, black pepper. You want to get it in now, you're going to see. Mix that up, and just until it's nice and mixed together. Now, here is also an opportunity. I mean, you can add really whatever you want. I know that we have my gut feeling in the chat, and they mentioned, may have been, I don't know if it was Katy or Teresa mentioned that they added mushrooms, half of the black beans, and then also some mushrooms in here as well, which would be amazing. That would be awesome. So this is a great way to sort of customize the burger as well. And then we're going to form some patties. So I would probably, I could feel at this point, probably let it cool a little bit more, and it'll be a lot easier to form. But just to give you sort of an idea. Now, this recipe will make like 6 medium-sized patties, or you can probably do, if you wanted to make larger ones, you can do probably 4 larger ones. But essentially, yeah, you just form the patty just like this onto a baking sheet with parchment. You do the rest. You get the idea. In the oven, 400 degrees for about 15 minutes. And I'll show you what it looks like. I did make maybe slightly larger ones for today, only because the buns that I ended up finding are massive. So here they are. Again, after it bakes, you want to get it to the point where you get this really nice sort of crust on the top. And if you want, during the last few minutes, again, this is what's awesome about developing recipes with a team. If someone suggested like brushing it with a little bit of barbecue sauce for the last few minutes, which I did with this one, and that sort of bubbles and caramelizes and makes it like just super, super tasty. And I mean, it looks like a beef burger. I mean, we're not, it's no magic here. It's not going to taste like a beef burger. It's going to taste like a bean burger, but I think it's a delicious bean burger. So let's dress this up. Have our black bean burger, our bun.
One of the things I really like about this recipe, you mentioned the size of the patties that you can form. Teresa had mentioned how, after surgery, her portion sizes were super small. So the great thing about this recipe is you can really form the patties in any size that you want. This recipe freezes really well. So especially if you're dealing with treatment-related fatigue, you can have these little mini burgers in the freezer that you can just pop out, when you need a meal in very manageable portions. One of the other things that I like is because the black beans are so soft, it can work really well for if you need a soft or a minced diet. And you can use extra olive oil or extra barbecue sauce if you need that added moisture as well.
I love that. I love the idea. And you could probably make even like sliders, like in really small ones too, which is awesome. But there we go. You can top it with whatever toppings you like. Obviously, let's save a little bit of that caramelized onion for an extra topping like that. But there we have it. That's our caramelized onion black bean burger. Awesome.